Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news mashup video today, starting with Daniel Dubois and Joyce, who according to The Athletic's Mike Coppinger have agreed to terms for a heavyweight clash April 18 at the O2 in London on pay-per-view in England, and he says in brackets likely ESPN Plus in the US. Now, if this deal has now been done, Dubois has signed his end of the contract. It's a very, very good fight. In terms of the heavyweight division, one of the better matchups that could be made in 2020, a very good fight for the fans. I think a lot of people, though, might not be so happy that it would be on pay-per-view. This is what is being reported, and realistically, if they're going to have the O2, these two guys, it's probably going to be a BT Sport pay-per-view. I guess it is what it is, but in terms of that matchup overall, it is a very good fight. And Mike Coppinger says that the winner would be well positioned in a red-hot heavyweight division. Very true. The winner from this will go on to bigger and better things, and with Daniel Dubois already number 3 in the WBO rankings and Joyce a gold title with the WBA, also some other rankings in general, this is for both. This is actually a good fight, and it's a very significant fight at this point because let's face it, how often do two guys who are on the way up, who are legitimately among the best prospects in the heavyweight division, fight each other? Not very often. And right now, and on most people's boards, that these two guys would be sort of in the top 25. I have them just both inside my top 20. So I think this is a very good matchup. One for the fans. Maybe on pay-per-view some people will be a little bit sort of meh, it's maybe on the borderline for that. Some people will be like really willing to part with their money. Others maybe not so much, given it's one of these fights that it's a very good fight, but it hasn't necessarily had a long lead in to build up their profiles, and they're not necessarily well-established cash cows or anything like that. So you could question the level of interest in terms on the pay-per-view front, but I guess Frank Warren, he's probably decided to pull the trigger on this, and they'll just, whatever they make is whatever they make here. Hopefully it would be at a reasonable price. But yeah, overall, very good fight. But it's not something that's pleased the Sauerland brothers that promote Filip Hrgović or co-promote him along with Matchroom. Remembering the EBU had ordered Joyce and Filip Hrgović to fight, and they have posted to social media, and this is in relation to the news. Michael Benson here, you can see on screen, had reported Mike Coppinger's tweet, and then the Sauerland brothers have come in saying, this seems to have happened sharpish after El Animal Hrgović was ordered for the European Heavyweight Championship. But Joyce's manager Sam Jones in a couple of tweets has reacted to that. He says, the phone hasn't rung once. El irrelevant animal needs the juggernaut, not the other way around. But we are all ears. Joe has beat him once and will happily whoop him again. And he's referring to the amateur loss that Joyce handed Hrgović in 2013, a split decision loss for Hrgović on that occasion. But the Sauerland, and you can see here above that, have responded again. No need to talk. There is a purse bid scheduled already for Feb 12, amigo, at our request. Whoop, whoop. And Jones says, excellent. But that may end up being a bit moot and not required if Dubois and Joyce have agreed to terms to fight for April the 18th, as reported by Mike Coppinger. And Joyce has definitely signed his end of the deal. So Jones, talking to WBN, he says, I can definitely confirm we've agreed to fight Daniel Dubois. But with the EBU ordering Joyce versus Hrgović, it puts us in a unique situation. One we've worked hard for over the last 2 years. We've accepted the Dubois fight, that's a fact, but do we take on Hrgović? In my opinion, it would get us closer to a world title shot and be a better fight to watch due to the styles. It's a very interesting situation, but what I can guarantee the fans is that Joyce is going to be in some huge fights this year. Huge fights. Although probably on the balance of probabilities, likely to be Dubois next, but we shall see. Meanwhile, Joyce and Dubois' promoter Frank Warren has been taking a pot shot at Anthony Joshua in his Metro column. So of the talk of having a fight with the winner of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury next, he says, can things change? Of course, but it'll be expensive to do that. And I mean really expensive. Whatever this fight makes, Joshua will have to match it to get the loser to step aside. fight. That will be millions upon millions of pounds. But to talk now all glib about a curveball offer is rubbish. It's more difficult now to do a heavyweight unification than ever before. Wilder and Tyson are tied into 2 fights. Joshua has his mandatories. Joshua knows full well he's talking nonsense. He is trying to con the public. He's certainly playing dumb. Joshua will say anything at this stage. What did he say? He'd go spar with Tyson? Never had any intention of doing that either. These fights can be made. Wilder and Tyson don't just talk about the big fights, they actually make them. Tyson will fight wherever he gets the most money. In his head, in my head, he's beaten Wilder already. If he beats him again, he'd definitely want to fight Joshua. If he beats him again, he'd definitely want to fight Joshua, but there's contractual commitments with Wilder. And Joshua has got to beat Kubrat Pulev and Alexander Usyk. The big concern is Joshua has been wobbled by his recent opponents. Meanwhile, Tyson Fury is sparring with a 6'7" cruiserweight, Jordan Thompson. And Thompson's told British Boxing News, "I've always thought that for anyone who's fighting Wilder, I'm literally a carbon copy of the man. I'm 6'7", 15.5 stone when I'm walking around, so I'm a replica. I mentioned it to my management and then got a text on the Monday before I came out asking if I wanted sparring with Fury. I thought I'd love that. And then they said, it's in Vegas. Even better. I had to sort a few things out for work, and by the Saturday I was on the plane. It's such an unbelievable experience, I can't stress that enough." And in Deontay Wilder's camp, he's been working with a number of heavyweights, including New Zealand's Junior Fa, who's currently undefeated 18-0. And this is actually the 3rd time, I believe, Fa has been in the Deontay Wilder training camp setup. He says on social media, "First week done with the champ and taking in as much knowledge as I can from the team." And Hughie Fury, he's been talking to Boxing UK, saying that he's been fighting with one hand, and you can find that video on their YouTube channel. Here is a screenshot from it. Fury has, in recent years, fought Joseph Parker, Alexander Povetkin, and also Kubrat Pulev at world level, come up short in each of them. And in this interview, he says, he doesn't go into too much detail, but there's obviously been some sort of issue with his right hand. He says, "I've been fighting with one hand." And he's calling for the rematches. He wants the rematch with any of Parker, Pulev, or Povetkin. He believes he can get them, and he's confident he would win each one of them. So some of this talk, and he says that he's going to, you'll see a new Hughie Fury in the next fight out. He's fighting March 7th, but it is going to be effectively a tick-over opponent. So how much we could take from any performance against a lower-level opponent, really is hard to say. But if he has had a long-term injury, maybe that has hampered him to some extent. But in some ways, given that he's come up short 3 times at world level, you have to ask how much of this is him explaining away and excuses here, because he has been prone to excuses before. And if he's going to use the injury line, he fought Joseph Parker, and Parker had 2 dodgy elbows, which he had operated on just a couple of months after he fought Hughie Fury. So in that sort of context, you have to wonder, well, a lot of these heavyweights are often operating with some level of injury. You don't hear about it until after some sort of surgery or some sort of rehabilitation, etc. So how much can we take from this, and how much is this him mentally trying to G himself up and explain away the losses? 25 years old, stepped up 3 times at world level, but lost every time. Let me know what you think of that. Drop a comment. Loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.